I hope I'll become part of the family.
When my mother hired Grace, she seemed like the answer to our prayers. She was quiet, respectful, hardworking. Within days, the entire house was spotless. My younger brother adored her. Even our old dog Tiger followed her everywhere. My mother would always say,
Grace has been a blessing. I don't know where God sent this girl from.
I wish he hadn't. Because Grace turned our lives into a nightmare. Strange things started about a week later. Tiger stopped eating. Every night, he sat outside Grace's bedroom door, growling until sunrise. Then one morning, he was dead. Grace cried harder than everyone else. She even helped bury him. 3 days later, my grandmother fell down the stairs. She survived. But before the ambulance took her away, she grabbed my wrist and whispered,
Don't let that girl touch me.
Who? Grandma slowly turned toward the kitchen. Grace was standing there. She wasn't crying. She was smiling. Something about that smile felt wrong. I convinced myself I was imagining things. That night, my grandmother died. After the funeral, everything got worse. My father lost his job. My mother's business collapsed overnight. My little brother started talking to someone none of us could see. Every night, he would say,
Grace's friend is here again.
Whenever we asked where, he pointed to the corner of his room.
He's right there, in the corner.
There was never anyone there. Then one night, around 2 in the morning, I woke up to the sound of someone singing. Soft, slow, almost like a lullaby. The voice was coming from the backyard. I looked through my bedroom window. Grace was standing beneath the mango tree. She wasn't alone. She was talking to the darkness, as if someone was standing right in front of her. Then, she knelt down, dug a small hole, placed something inside, and covered it again. I should have told my parents. Instead, I went back to bed. The next morning, Grace left for the market.
I'm leaving for the market.
Curiosity got the better of me. I dug up the same spot. Inside was a small clay pot. Wrapped around it were strands of my mother's red hair, my father's wedding ring, a photograph of my little brother, and Tiger's collar. My heart nearly stopped. I called my mother.
Mom!
Before I could explain anything, Grace walked into the compound. She wasn't supposed to be back for another hour. It was almost as if she knew. She looked at me, then at the open hole. For the first time, her smile disappeared, her eyes filled with anger. That night, she packed her belongings without saying a single word. Before dawn, she was gone. We never saw her again. Slowly, our lives returned to normal. My father found another job, an even better one. My mother's business recovered. My little brother stopped talking to invisible people. We thought it was finally over. We were wrong. 10 years later, I had moved out and started my own life. One afternoon, my mother called me in tears.
Turn on the TV, it's Grace again.
A news reporter was interviewing a wealthy family. Their house help had disappeared overnight. Then they showed an old family photograph. Standing quietly behind them, wearing the exact same gentle smile, was Grace. She hadn't aged a single day. According to the family, 3 people in that house had already died. I begged my mother to let it go. Grace was no longer part of our lives, or so I believed. A few days later, my phone rang. It was the woman from the television interview. I know you knew her, she said. Please, tell me how to stop her. Looking back, answering that phone call was the biggest mistake of my life. The next morning, I drove to her house. The moment I entered the compound, I felt the same heavy feeling I remembered from my childhood. The woman introduced herself as Mrs. Evans. She lowered her voice.
Since Grace came here, my husband died in his sleep. My mother became blind overnight. Now my son keeps talking to someone who lives in the ceiling.
It was happening all over again. I asked to see Grace.
Where is Grace? Can I see her?
She left yesterday. She said her work here was finished.
I searched Grace's room. It was almost empty, except for one wooden box beneath the bed. Inside were dozens of small notebooks. Each one had a different family surname written on the cover. Our family was there. The Evans family was there, and many others. I opened ours. Every page contained dates. The day Tiger died. The day my grandmother fell. The day my father lost his job. The day my mother cried herself to sleep. Everything had been written before it happened. Then I reached the final page. One child remains. Suddenly, Mrs. Evans screamed. Her little boy was staring at the front gate, smiling. She's back, he whispered. The gate stood open. No one was there, only fresh, muddy footprints. leading into the house, not out of it. We searched every room. Nothing. Then, a soft laugh echoed from the attic. We rushed upstairs. The attic was empty. But scratched into the wooden floor were 6 chilling words. "You never get rid of me." As we turned to leave, Mrs. Evans' son smiled. "She says she's going home with you." A cold shiver ran through my body. I spun around. No one was behind me. That night, I returned home. The lights were already on. I was certain I had switched them off. I searched every room. Nothing. Then I walked into the kitchen. On the dining table sat a steaming cup of tea. Beside it, a handwritten note. "Welcome home." I lived alone. The next morning, I installed security cameras. For 3 nights, nothing happened. On the 4th night, at exactly 2:47 a.m., my phone buzzed. I opened the camera feed. The living room was empty. Then a chair slid across the floor by itself. In the kitchen, a cabinet slowly opened. A cup floated onto the counter. Then Grace appeared in the hallway. She stopped, slowly turned her head, and smiled directly into the camera. The screen went black. I ran to the police. When they returned with me, everything looked normal. The recordings had vanished. No one believed me. Desperate for answers, I traveled to the village where Grace claimed she came from. No one there knew her. Then an elderly woman looked at Grace's photograph and turned pale.
My grandmother warned us about her. You should ask about her there.
She directed me to an abandoned cemetery. The old caretaker unlocked the rusted gate. He stopped beside a weathered grave. The inscription read, "Grace Adu, born in 1958, died in 1981. The photograph on the tombstone was Grace.
What happened to her? She once worked as a house help, but every family that hired her lost someone before she disappeared.
So, she's dead? The old man looked directly into my eyes.
No, that girl died.
What enters people's homes is something else.
I never searched for Grace again. Years passed. I got married. We had 2 children. Life became peaceful. Then one afternoon, my youngest daughter came running.
Daddy, our new nanny is here.
I walked to the front door. A young woman stood there with a small travel bag. She looked polite, quiet, respectful. She smiled. It wasn't the same face. It wasn't the same voice. But it was the exact same smile. Then she said,
I hope I'll become part of the family.
Those were the exact first words Grace had spoken to my mother all those years ago. Without saying a word, I quietly closed the door. We never hired another house help. Sometimes, late at night, I still hear 3 slow knocks at the front door, but I never answer.